envelope arrived.
Okay. So yeah, this is the actual call out notice itself. I don't know if you can see it. It's backwards. Notice of call out, it says.
Reservist Forces Act 1996.
That's right. Reserve Forces Act 1996, 2517 3850. That's me. You've been called up. I wasn't expecting that letter. A couple of months ago, before that letter, I'd been in an interview with the colonel, the lieutenant colonel of the regiment, because I wanted to enter officer training. And I thought, oh, here's a letter from the army. Maybe I did a really good job with this interview. And he's inviting me for the Army Officer Selection Board, the AOSB. No, none of it. I'm a private. I'm not an officer cadet. I'm a private. And I'm being called up for mobilized service in Iraq. There's a British saying for that. My arse fell out as soon as I read that. It was a huge shock because I had nothing to warn me. No one had been warned about it at all. I got straight on my phone. I sent a message to my good friend Bros at the time, and my corporal, who was my section commander, squad commander, and said, I've had this letter, and it says I have to report to the mobilization center. And they came back and said, yeah, we've had the same one too. In fact, the squad leader said, oh yeah, I've had my holiday brochure delivered as well. It's just so that was how it happened. But it was a huge shock. And my biggest worry was not, I'm going to go to Iraq. I'm going to be in combat because I'm a regiment. My biggest worry was, how am I going to tell my mum that I've been called up? and that was on my mind for quite some time. But it was it was the biggest shock of my life. And despite everything, I'm an old man now, or older man, and yeah, still the biggest shock I've ever received.
So now you're in the Army, and your dad was saying, get a job that has something useful. What did you hear in that advice as you're now in the Army, and you're like, oh my gosh, I got to tell my mom, not only am I in the Army, but now I'm now being mobilized.
Yeah, I should listen to my dad, shouldn't I? I should become a signaller, so someone or a truck driver, someone who had a skill. But no, yeah, I was going as an infantryman. But, I was a proud infantryman. I'm from a town in Gloucester. I know there's a Gloucester, Massachusetts. We have a Gloucester in England as well. The original Gloucester, the best Gloucester. I'm a Gloucester boy. Gloucester boys join the Gloucesters, so there was pride in that. And we had uniform distinctions. In fact, the Gloucestershire Regiment had the American Presidential Unit Citation for fighting in Korea. We're a very highly decorated unit. So on that half, I was really, really proud to think, yeah, I'm going to keep up the traditions of this fine regiment. On the other hand, I was like, Mum, what I'm going to say. So it's a huge dichotomy for me. And I should listen to my dad and join a more sensible human.
I'm glad you mentioned the badge. In the military, obviously, these badges have so much history behind them. And I was reading your book. I was trying to put myself in England and thinking about it from a British perspective. And I almost thought about it as like a football club. Everybody has these local clubs that you just live and die for. And that badge, what's the history behind that badge?
This badge.
That's the badge.
That's the badge.
That's your unit. Okay.
Yeah, this badge was earned in the Battle of Alexandria, 1801. The Gloucestershire Regiment was not called that at the time. They were called the 23rd Regiment of Foot, and they were fighting against the French in Alexandria. They were surrounded, outnumbered, but the Gloucestershire Regiment turned back to back, and they formed like a herringbone formation where they could shoot in any direction, and they managed to repel the French. And for that reason, the Gloucestershire Regiment from 1801 became the only regiment in the British Army to wear a badge on the front of their headdress, or an identical one or a similar one on the back as well, to symbolize that they could never be surrounded and defeated that way. And so it's a very, very unique distinction in the British Army, which is carried on by the Rifle Regiment. Now, obviously, the regiment evolved. So it started in 1801. They fought hard during the Second World War, during the European campaign, and also in Malaysia against the Japanese, which is odd because I'm in Japan now. And then they fought hard in Korea, were awarded the Americans Presidential Unit Citation, fighting alongside the US forces. And that tradition carried up until 2007, when the regiment was amalgamated into a much larger formation.
You just brought up some ironic things that I didn't realize that I was going to talk about, but boy, you've struck a nerve